Hi guys, it's me again. I'm gonna continue reading from my book, The 1900s. Let's go! A new ethnic diversity. If the future had the shape of logo, it was undoubtedly the skyscraper. The architectural wonder of the late 19th century had risen, literally, from the ashes of Chicago. The city had burned into history in 1871, then reconstructed itself, not in wood or brick or iron, but in the very modern materials of steel and glass and steel reinforced concrete laid out in a grid so that the load would not borne by the walls as had been previous practice, but dispensed throughout the structure, allowing it to rise toward the clouds. Uh, Urban silo. The skyscraper was almost too obvious a response to the closing of the frontier, a vertical space replacing horizontal, and it became so commanding an image of the time that it inspired a Canadian manufacturer to create one of the most durable and popular of 20th century toys, the Rectator set. But even more important, as the new buildings begin to reflect not the simple squared off roofs that were common to the work of the great Chicago architect Louis H. Sullivan, but the striking, piercing verticality of church spires. They spoke to the aspirations of a new age dedicated to new values. By 1930, when New York City's Woolworth building was open, reaching for the heavens at 60 stories and 792 feet, the structure was boldly declared to be the Cathedral of Commerce. New York took to verticality like few other cities. The island Manhattan being truly fixed space, and as the primary port of entry to the United States, its newest buildings presented an image of upward motion to the throng of immigrants and the century's first years pushed toward America's shores. On his way to the administration center at Ellis Island, the immigrant first looked up as he passed the Statue of Liberty, an initial gesture of optimism demanded of him by his new homeland. But in fact, he needed little encouragement to feel enthusiasm for the world he would now enter. For the millions making their way across the Atlantic, a new breed of immigrant from Central and Southern Europe, including pogroms and poverty, America was truly a land of opportunity. From 1890 to 1910, nearly 13 million immigrants came to the United States, swelling the population and dramatically changing the nation from a mostly homogeneous sinistry descended from English, German, Scotch, and Irish ancestry to a population of dramatic ethnic diversity. As 19th century America was white, Anglo-Saxon, and Protestant, in 20th century America would be white and black. The free slave movement to stake its claim to a better life and yellow. And it would include not only Protestants but Eastern Orthodox people from Russia and Greece, land peoples from the Catholic Mediterranean states, and Jews from Russia and Poland. The incorporation of immigrants from such vastly different backgrounds, holding vastly different beliefs, and following vastly different customs would pose one of the century's greatest challenges to American ideals. The fresh arrivals were mostly rural peoples, but they came to a new world in search of jobs and industries that were centered in American cities and towns. And whereas they had sweated under the sun till the earth in southern Italy, Russia, and the Eastern European Slavic states, here they would work to the demands of a back-breaking foreman and listen to the sound of the whistle that would announce the end of the workday. In the early years of the century, millions of new immigrants were packed into mid-sized American factory towns. In 1900, someone calculated that 25 languages were being spoken in the textile mills of Lawrence, Massachusetts, while millions more undertook a quintessential modern mission, the building of the big city. Weeks after he left the soil of Sardinia, a young Italian worker could find itself digging subway tunnels, laying trolley track, paving roads, constructing bridges or sewers or electrical lines, even sitting atop a steel girder, erecting one of the vaunted new skyscrapers. And thanks largely to the help of such eager new Americans, the city of San Francisco fell by a tremendous earthquake in 1906 that left 200,000 people homeless, was able to rebuild itself in less than 3 years. The precarious wooden structures erected during the city days as the gold rush boomed town, now wisely replaced by the kind of sturdy steel foundation that had a better chance of withstanding another tremor. Dinner at the White House. President Theodore Roosevelt created a stir in 1901 when he invited African-American educator Booker T. Washington to dine at the White House. The New York Times was one of several newspapers to report on the incident and the president's reaction to his critics. Washington, October 19th. Quite the most exciting subject of conversation here for a day or two has been the intimate dinner on Wednesday by the president of Booker T. Washington. The news got out just as other announcements had been made of the guests of the president died. Mr. Roosevelt, having adopted that method of meeting persons with whom he desired to have extended conversation. The response that was flashed back from the South, where it was learned with Sunday, was shocked that a Negro had sat at a table with the president and his family, was the first invitation to the president that he had transgressed. The subject has been dealt with here by the newspapers with delicacy. The critical reports from the South have been printed, and there's been some territory comment upon the resentful tone of Southern criticism. To one of his callers today, a friend who did not introduce the subject, the president reported to have said, referring to the dinner incident, "I do not need to give you an explanation of the Booker Washington affair, do I?" The visitor made a reply of inquiry. Then the president went on to say that he was amazed that he could be so misunderstood by those who had criticized him. When he declared that he did not intend to have anything to do with the white or black scallywags in the South, and followed that declaration by avoiding some appointments that he believed should not be made, and appointed some Democrats because he believed it to be for the best interest of the public service. He was applauded, but he considered that he had a perfect right and that it was his duty, in order to accomplish what he desired to do, to consult with white and black men who are not scallywags. He admired him for his character, his devotion to a cause, and for what he has accomplished. The president does not pretend to defend himself from his assailants by entering upon a discussion of the color question. That seems to have had no weight with him, considering whether he should or should not invite Mr. Washington. The idea of a violation of Southern prejudice and tradition with the purpose of provoking and alienating Southern friends never entered his mind. When he visited Tuskegee Institute, he was the guest of Mr. Washington, but did not, it is said, dine with him. This was commented upon as thoughtful regard for local opinion and social association between whites and blacks. It cannot be truthfully said that the president regards the incident and the subsequent comment as humorous, although it has been said that he did, and that he proposed to get more fun out of it by asking Mr. Washington to dine with him again. No such reckless story is believed by those who know Mr. Roosevelt. That it is regretted by many Republicans is plain enough. Maryland Democrats have seized upon the incident to turn it to account in the pending state campaign, and Republicans have admitted that it may give the state to the Democrats. The prosecution of Rear Admiral Shealy has been a pretty hard load to carry, it is admitted, and would have handicapped the Republicans, and now the Negro at dinner incident is being advertised in campaign fashion in all the leading papers of the state. Please comment, rate, and subscribe down below. And please ring that bell notification so that you can know when I upload. And if you're on TikTok, please like and follow my videos. And please pay for something on my eBay and or Mercari. Bye.